Okay. This is gonna be over in a jiffy. Okay, daily challenges, a lot of people think about a lot of heroic stuff. But not in my world. I mean, in my world, the daily challenge is cleaning your apartment. Okay, this I have to take. Daily challenges. Okay. This is gonna be over in a jiffy. Okay, daily challenges, a lot of people think about a lot of heroic stuff. But not in my world. I mean, in my world, the daily challenge is cleaning your apartment. Okay, this I have to take. Daily challenges. Okay. It's gonna be over in a jiffy. Okay, daily challenges, a lot of people think about a lot of heroic stuff. But not in my world. I mean, in my world, the daily challenge is cleaning your apartment. Okay, this I have to take. Daily challenges. Screen locked? Okay, doesn't matter. Daily challenges. Okay. This is gonna be over in a jiffy. Okay, daily challenges, a lot of people think about a lot of heroic stuff. But not in my world. I mean, in my world, the daily challenge is cleaning your apartment. Okay, this I have to take. Because I have to leave, I have to be, I'm just sitting at my parents at 9:30. Today's a Sunday. It's time for breakfast. But now it's time to do the dishes, which I saw myself filming. Then I just had to do it. Okay, now you see, you can have challenges in whichever way you wish to have a challenge. So yeah, I'm still doing dishes in the bathroom, and I have to say that I like it. And then you can say, well, why do you like that? Well, wow, that's a perspective I have not yet shared with anyone. Hey, I like this. This is so weird. Okay, because I'm gonna show you. I mean, this is humble 101 and actually liking it. You know what I'm saying, right? Like, this is a challenge. I fill this thing and I try to hold it with my left hand as long as I can. Right? I have set out through my day lots of little challenges. Right? You can challenge yourself with a woman. That, of course, also. challenge yourself into not drinking coffee, and you can challenge yourself to do your dishes in a bucket in a squat. And you don't even need my living situation for that. I mean, you could just do it however you want it. You could even just, you know, try things and see if you liked it, because nobody can force you to do the dishes at a sink, if you know what I'm saying. Like, this means, in a sense, you have complete freedom, because I can imagine that your life is probably really boring at the moment. For whatever reason, you're looking for something and anything that makes your life more interesting. But you see, it's not, you know, when you do a challenge for yourself, okay, you can film it, you can record it, but the most important thing is you are doing the challenge. So I'm challenging myself also to creating content, but I cannot create an entire year for YouTube in one day. Unless I would do really small videos, right? Then I could do that. But the content I'm creating is quite extensive and takes a lot of time to prepare, which is why I'm simply doing the stuff that I'm doing anyway and then talk about the things. So doing the dishes after a day like yesterday, after I felt like completely like I had no hope left or something, and I don't even know where that came from, because I live in the acknowledgement that we are all connected and that there are people that can have an impact on my mood. Because sometimes I feel things where I think, why should I feel like this? Like, where is this feeling coming from? So you can see how squatting and doing the dishes can turn into a challenge that's gonna toughen you up. So there's challenges that I would simply reject, such as how many women can you sleep with? Right, that's a really stupid challenge. Or how much can you eat? That's really, you know, I eat until I'm full and then I stop. So there's challenges that I would say that are just useless, stupid. I like creating content on my own. I often see how people band together. I cannot say what's in the future for me, but for now I'm just creating content on my own. So I'm challenging myself to create the content in the best way that I can, right? So I'm not rushing through it. I'm taking the time, but I have to make progress. I have to continue because there's other things I have challenged myself to do, which is writing books, right? But you actually have to get better. And I mean, there are people who just say they would like to write books. I once read somebody wrote a comment that they would like to be like Terry Pratchett. Okay, but I mean, in order to be like Terry Pratchett, you actually also have to have the skill. Some people just admire someone and wish they could be like him, but they never looked into the mirror and realized that that could never be them. I mean, I already started drawing things when I was in school. I was always drawing on the table. I had invented this bird that you can call Birdo. And at that time he was always smoking joints. And interesting enough, now I stopped smoking joints, but I have smoked joints for some time and then I stopped. And then I said, well, why should I ever do that? If I can just breathe to feel free, right? So why should I ever go back to smoking? So that is also a daily challenge to every time it comes up, you just say, nah, I don't really need it. So daily challenges can be things that are temporary because you are working with yourself now, let's say to stop masturbating or to stop watching porn or to stop, you know, that's basically what I'm still hard on, to not give in to the pressure and to simply say, hey, you know what, if there's pressure, I'll just make more art. You know, if there's pressure, maybe I just have to go hiking. If there's pressure, okay, how long can I hold a plank for? I have never lived under this much pressure, so I had to steel myself so that I was able to, right, continue to exist. So a challenge could also be, let's say you're fond of drinking wine, right? You buy the wine and you keep it. Okay? You keep it. You know, normally I bought wine and I drank it immediately. Now the challenge may be, you know, to just say, hey, I bought it. Okay, I already had some progress because yesterday I did not drink the wine. And that to me is a progress. Because I transitioned from, you know, I buy the wine, I drink the wine, to I buy the wine, I store the wine, I take it out when I feel like it. That's a bit different than, you know, I buy it and I just drink it because I bought it. So I see challenges in lots of ways that other people... I do not shower here anymore. I take bath. And then I store the bathing water still to flush the toilet. And I actually really like this. Okay. So this is a daily challenge. Now I have talked about daily challenges. So let's say daily challenges. You can, let's say, not talk for an entire day. I usually do these things intuitively. I just wake up and then I don't talk until I feel like talking. But until you have learned to not talk at times, right? To be able to stay silent for some time, you have to have the experience in the bag that you can, let's say, stand not talking for one day. The first time I experienced this was actually during my time in Africa, where I was following the Vervids, and without knowing it, I made experiences that changed me. And I learned things that I could have never predicted in such a way, I think. Right, I knew I wanted to go there, but I had no idea what I would be doing. So it showed me something about myself that changed my entire way of seeing. But you could say that there was this conscious being in me that knew what was going to happen and that made choices to get me to reach my potential and then continue from here. Because I am not just a consumer, right? I have always, since the beginning, when I was listening to music, some people, they just put on the music and they just let it play. For me, as soon as I started, you know, as soon as there's music, I start listening to the lyrics, right? Because otherwise, why would you? So I always wanted to understand what they were singing. And there's people, I just don't get them because their way of communicating is just very, very unclear. And that's many artists that you hear today. Plus, I just don't get the point, right? I mean, the point of being creative is being creative and not, you know, creating something and then repeating it 100 times just because you get money from it. That's just stupid. I mean, if people start liking what you do and then they get you to play it over and over, then you're just a slave. And that's basically every musician that lives today. They've just all sold their souls, right? And in the end, they only produce the music they think people want to see. So who wants to see me doing dishes in my bathroom? You know, that's gonna be a very few select people who actually see this as an opportunity to break out of, you know, the melodrama they have created for themselves. Because I'm simply working with what I have. You know, I barely have money because I chose to not run after it. I simply said, hey, you know, I've got time, I can do things, and I'm gonna do them. But I'm not gonna do what you think I should do. And, you know, I could always stop existing if people try to force me. So, you know, I'm just choosing to be like this. To be a bit obnoxious with my position. To simply say, hey, you know, I'm here because I chose to. And some people, they're here because, you know, they're just still alive. But I'm actually here because I chose to, and that's a very, very big difference. Because if you're here because you chose to, then you realize you actually need challenges to grow as an individual. And this is certainly challenging, right? No matter what you try to tell yourself. And if you're here just because you're still alive, then you probably lack appreciation for still being alive. So unless you got to that point of, maybe call it no return. Okay, it's already feeling much better. Because that's what also some people may not get. And that I haven't got maybe for some time, that if I clean the dishes in my space, that I also clean myself. Because this is a reflection of myself. So if you would have been always clean, how would you have been able to understand what it feels like to be dirty? And some people, they're just dirty. But they play at being clean. And one sign of doing that is a lot of deo, a lot of soap, a lot of, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Just talking about completely irrelevant topics, always escaping into excuses, escaping into distortions. You know, this is the real world. This is what I'm facing. So what I'm facing when I leave the house is people that are lost, irritated, that are being harvested, people that are far from natural, just looking for someone that they can shoot their anger into. I just saw it yesterday. I just saw it yesterday, man. There were these women, and they were standing at the traffic light, I mean, I'm not the whole time super negative. You know, I have lots of tiny little moments with myself that I actually enjoy. But sometimes it takes a while. And there's some people who are just really miserable all the time. I mean, I have had potentially really nice moments where other people just couldn't open up to the experience, right? Where they just stood around being really miserable and you thought, why? I mean, why can't you just enjoy the moment? Right? It's also just shifting your perspective to see the challenge as something that helps you grow. Anyway, I had this moment. You know, people like me because I know boundaries. I know how to contain myself. So I get along with lots of different people. Because I also respect your suffering, right? I mean, sometimes I just want to laugh if you complain about, you know, your grandmother just died. Because it's just so... I mean, death happens, you know? So, what are you moping about? If she's dead, she's dead. Cheers. And you even wanted her to die. You're just afraid to admit it. Because you rather play the victim. Oh, it's so bad, you know? And sit around moping. You know, that could be a challenge for you. To stop moping. Right? So sometimes I'm recording myself, I say all kinds of things. And then I realize what I'm saying. And then I think, well, that's not 100% me. Never is that 100% me. So by recording myself, I also realize where I'm straying, right? Because there's like victim mode and there's something, and then, you know, is it me? Is it someone else? Well, it's irrelevant as long as you give into it, right? Something was able to take over your mind or something. So you cannot reject it, because in the end it's your responsibility, right? If you're still living a life that you find boring, well then maybe start doing your dishes in the bathroom, right? In a squat. And just shift around stuff. You know, hack the kitchen you have to bits and then build one yourself with your own two hands, right? Just start reconnecting with your builder mentality. And if you're in a position where you've got the money, well, then you've got weekends. If you've got the money, then you've got the weekends, you know. Hack your kitchen to bits and build one from wood that you like. You know, I'm just saying, I knew I wanted this. So I started doing it. And today the challenge was to actually go to my parents after I had said I would. And then to be true to my word. I mean, I've been at appointments where I was alone because nobody else showed up. And I asked myself, why? Why do I things and then do them? And other people say things and do not do them? You know, why am I in that sense a man of action and other people are just men of words? You know, there were always things that I said I would do. But in the end, you know, I said, you know, I'm going to study, and then I studied. I never said I would study and then didn't study. I said, you know, I'm going to study, and then I studied. So I started doing YouTube without saying, hey, I'm going to do YouTube. I just started doing YouTube. I just started recording myself doing music. And there are some of the things in music that I like, that I created. Some I find, yeah, but it's all honest. So the story about yesterday, I was standing at the traffic light and the traffic light was red and then it turned green. And apparently the bus driver, because there was a family standing with children, and the bus driver probably thought, yeah, I'm just gonna drive anyway, you know. And then these women, they were like, hey, what are you doing? They were, you know. Well, yeah, I mean, his mistake, right? But at the same time, you should never take anything for granted, which means that just because the traffic light's red, you know, well, you could say it doesn't mean you have to stop. Or just because the traffic light's green doesn't mean, you know, green for you doesn't mean other people are gonna stop. So you always have to take into account that other people may not live by the same rules as you. So just because, let's say, you hold it precious that you're not gonna betray your wife, you know, I'm just saying, doesn't mean that she's not gonna do it. And at the same time, just because you hold it precious doesn't mean someone cannot get you to sleep around anyway. Which is for me a no-go, because I have decided on a woman and now I'm forced to be alone. But I started seeing it as a challenge to not bring people into here because I'm alone and to simply wait for her. And that's also a perspective that I find hard to reach, because yeah, sure, I would like to have her, spend time with her, because, you know, why can she make me wait? And then I could say, well, maybe I'm making her wait because I'm also taking my time to figure this out for myself, because this takes time. This takes a lot of time, and in my mind, I feel like I know that we're working towards each other. But how do I know? I don't know. It's just a feeling. And because I have decided that she's my wife, and I simply never replaced her. So that to me means, you know, she's in charge. Like, if I'll never see her again, then I will see it as a challenge to go without sex for the rest of my life. But I also hope that that won't be the case. So I hope in a sense that she wants children and that she wants them from me. And there were signs. That's all I can work with. Specific signs, things that I said, that she said. But sometimes I just didn't know who she was saying it to, or who she was saying it about. Maybe she saw me in a dream once, and when we met, she thought I misguided her. But I was me all the time, right? She just had trouble accepting that, for whatever reason. Plus I was also... So yeah, I mean, what's a challenge? At some point, you know, something may be a challenge and then it just becomes a necessity. So not smoking may be a challenge for some time and then it just becomes a necessity. So sometimes you can tackle challenges in a bit of a playful way, but for me, you know, I never set myself into stone, if you will, unless it was like dead serious. So I stopped smoking when I realized, okay, this is just more of a drag than it is actually nice. So I stopped pretending, in a sense, or I started to realize, well, that I could just breathe from my highs, and that is actually much more intense than the high you get from smoking. So being present can be a challenge. I force myself to focus almost on a daily basis so that I keep seeing life like a challenge. So I'm a bit like a predator for challenges. Yesterday I saw the challenge to leave the house and record some videos, but then the challenge is to turn them into actual YouTube creations, because for YouTube, in my case, it is not enough to just record it. I have to record it and then I have to edit it, which I would have to do anyway. Yeah, and there's women that I have to really keep at bay, right? Women that would love to spend some pleasure time with me. And that's a challenge because I actually don't like you. I mean, I never liked you, I never found you attractive. And that's a fact. They'll just try to wiggle into me. So yeah, no, I don't know everything. I just know how to react. I know how to react to things. And I'm certainly keeping myself away from other things. And that's a challenge as well. But daily challenges are usually very intuitive. It's you wake up and you realize you have to do the dishes, you have to do the laundry, you have to leave the house, you have to go hiking. To me, that's part of my zen. It's reacting to the energy that I'm perceiving in a certain way. So yesterday, people were trying to brew something because of things I have done. I'm just saying, right? There was like some kind of gossip, you know, Christopher's the bad guy nonsense going on. And so I simply left the house and went for a hike. So they can hack themselves a bit. And this is how I perceive life. I mean, I'm still alive, if you know what I'm saying. And I have done many things, right, that you could say, right, should have get a man killed. But I did it, and I got out of it because I always knew how to react. But, I mean, there are things where I would be probably careful how to challenge myself. I'm just saying, daily challenges. I think I have almost said enough. Your daily challenge could be fasting. I have had challenges where I did not eat in the morning. Sometimes I even used an irrigator to flush my colon. And then I made a big batch of tea. And then I went to the boulder hall and bouldered for an entire day. But you can also say, hey, I'm going hiking without eating, but I'll just bring tea. And if it gets hard, well, what am I gonna do? Well, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna learn to push through even without food. So these daily challenges are in a sense induced suffering. You're inducing hardship into your life by choice. And you're doing so to grow as an individual and to know that whatever comes your way, you're gonna make it. So you start seeing life as the challenge to live as good and as fully as you can manage, and to only accept the woman, for instance, that you've chosen. And that's a challenge, because other women won't care if you've chosen her. And even other men, right, that just want to escape themselves and have you give them what they, you know, could have given themselves, but that they were lacking the determination to actually seize. I mean, I have met psychotherapists, right, that wanted to have, you know, sex with me. And I'm not kidding, because very quickly we started to talk about, you know, like men, sexual relationships with men, very quickly. And he started to try to get into my mind to get me to... So he came to me, he was starting to play frisbee, and I realized he just wanted sex, right? He just wanted to screw me, to have like a win. So, you know, I simply decided for myself almost a while ago that I'm just gonna stop going to the park, because it's not a good environment for children anymore. Right? I'd rather go to nature. I'd rather go to nature than to keep going to these flea-ridden parks. And that is also a challenge that I have to face. Or sometimes you have to face challenges a couple of times before you've learned the lesson, because that's why you're challenging yourself, right? And I work very well under stress. And I have trained that. But sometimes I'm just waiting for the last moment. So now I have hold this with my left hand, because my left side has been weak due to neglect and due to, right, forcing children to be right-handed. That creates an imbalance. I mean, we don't have to be so hard on these things. I have been forced as a child to be right-handed. You know, it's more like, okay, that's how it was. Acceptance, right? You just have to accept it. If you accept it, then you're never gonna mow, ever again. This is living a life of acceptance, saying, hey, you know, tough. You know, little child, grow up. You know, time to grow up. We're living in a toxic world, you know. Start hiking. So to me, my daily challenges are manifold. So one facet of my daily challenges is art, making sketches. To keep going with Instagram, that's a challenge that I have transitioned away from making it daily, but I have worked hard for some time for Instagram, and then I simply took some time off again. Right, and then I'm just occasionally posting. So I have deleted the Instagram app. So it's harder to get. So I don't just want to sit around and check. So that could be a daily challenge that reoccurs until you've learned the lesson. Right? Which means that to me, sometimes daily challenges, right, I have to face certain challenges until the message sunk in, until I have learned adequately how to resist it. So I have tried for some time, for example, you know, sometimes you masturbate and then you don't, and, you know, I'm just saying, right, sometimes you masturbate and then you don't masturbate. And then you manage for a month to not masturbate, and then you think, yeah, I could do it again. And then again you're back into this bleh. And at some point you just say, you know, fuck it. I'm just gonna never ever masturbate again. So that if a woman comes into my life, I'm used to being this full, this jacked up. So I'm not gonna explode. And she can actually relax into this, because, you know, if I have energy pumping through me, then that's nourishment for my wife. Then that's nourishment for my children. I mean, this is not about having sex, like inserting a penis into, right, a woman's sexual organ all the time. This is about simply channeling energy. And the more energy you can channel, the better it is, right? Because it's about letting go, right? You know, focus and attention is what feeds a child, right? But there are, of course, ways of healing that we consider to be Tantra. It's, in a sense, a form of coming home, of just being close to one another. But for that, to actually appreciate that, and to be able to be close to one another for extended periods of time, which is what Tantra tries, of course, to accept each other's presence and to be connected and stay connected without orgasming. You know, it sounds very nice, but have you ever done that with a woman? And then, right, I mean, this is a challenge. There's some people who just meet their whatever at the age of 14 or 15, and then they just stay together. But people are going to try to break you apart. And I'm very strict. I'm very strict with myself. You know, if I say I do it, and then I don't do it, then I have to do it again. I mean, if I say I don't do it, if I say I do it, for instance, like not masturbating, and then I break into masturbation again, then I will look at what did I do wrong. Okay, where did I go wrong? What happened? Why am I still, right? Why have I lost again? So now I'm just trying to never masturbate again. And that's a challenge that I will keep erect for the rest of my life, because I want to know what's going to happen. I just want to know what's going to happen. If the things that I think or I feel might happen, if they can actually happen. If the visions I had were right now, I can prove it. That as soon as I stopped masturbating, numbers started to go up. That suddenly the woman came back. And then sure, it's going to annoy me, because then, you know, it wasn't enough to just be myself and stay the way that I was. No, I actually had to become better. I had to reach my full potential, and for that I have to get back to the original way of living, which is, you know, a non-masturbative existence. Because masturbation is a sign of frustration, is saying, hey, I don't, you know, you're a jerk. Why are you a jerk? Because you just use it for selfish pleasure. You know, you could have given this energy to someone else, but you just said, yeah, I don't like this world. I don't like this existence. I don't like anyone in it. So I'm not gonna give you anything of it. I'm just gonna jerk it into a towel. Well, in my position, if so much energy is flowing, you know, you're gonna do that the entire day, and there's still gonna be more. So it's better to just learn to channel it, to accept it, and then to start being creative. And to also learn semen retention, because I still remember, right, a lot of, there's this couple, yeah, I mean, there's couples that film themselves and they have this really like, wah, right, woman that's just, wah. And then you could see the man just ejaculating one after another and after another after another. So energy is flowing, but it's always getting out of him. And he doesn't get it. So instead of just ejaculating all the time, he should have learned to practice semen retention, to impress the woman with his durability. But porn is all about just being weak, right? So there's no way I can continue to follow that, because it's just about weakness. You know, a man doesn't necessarily have to ejaculate, unless the woman gets him there. And I think that's the challenge, that you actually have to want to be better at everything. And I'm saying that because I'm living it. And so, you know, if you're holding on to your sexual energy, then it may come the day where there's a woman that will challenge you on it and say, I'm gonna take it away from your, you know, hot and lively hands. Because, you know, I'm the toughest woman you'll ever meet. I'm just saying. But there's still women where I know they'll never manage. And I'm glad about it. Okay. Okay, daily challenges, you know, accepted. If you feel like doing it. If I don't feel like doing it, I'm just not gonna do it. I mean, there were moments where we were with so-called friends. I possibly have to hurry, I'm not sure. And then one of these so-called friends, I threw away his slippers. We were at a lake. And then he returned the favor and threw away my slippers, and I was just like, yeah, I don't care. You know, and I owned it. He was just like, what? He just doesn't care. You know, there were things where I just never cared about. Right, so in a sense, I wouldn't have cared if this woman that I chose would sleep with another man, you know, because then I'm gone. And then she submitted to the weakness of giving in to the challenge I posed on her. I literally challenged her to be my wife. Well, and only life will show me if she got that. Okay, now I have to hurry. So sometimes you take your sweet time. Oh shit. You see, now I have to hurry. Okay, it's alright. I just have to pack and leave. Cheers.